What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be ranking the team-up abilities in Marvel Rivals. So as you know, you can combine certain heroes in the game that'll give you or your team either a buff or an extra ability. Now I'm going to take these abilities and rank them from worst to best on a tier list. If there's any other type of gaming content you want me to do or any other type of tier list you want me to do, go ahead and leave it in the comments and I'll get to it as soon as possible. But until then, leave a like, subscribe, and let's cue that intro. Alright guys, so first up is Guardian Revival, and I think I'm going to put it in the A tier. So it's Adam Warlock, and he teams up with Mantis and Star-Lord, and he gives Mantis and Star-Lord his revival that he has. So in the case for Adam Warlock, he gets a 50% healing boost, which is pretty good for him because I think his healing is kind of whatever. But for Mantis and Star-Lord, that's where you really get the best out of this team up. They're two of the best characters in the game, and they can just come back for free. That's insane. Obviously, there's a massive cooldown just like Adam Warlock, but the ability to be able to come back to life after maybe a really big team fight is insane. So I think A tier is a good place to start. Okay, so next up is Atlas Bond, and I think that's going to go right behind Guardian Revival in the A tier for now. So for Atlas Bond, you get it by mixing Iron Fist and Luna Snow. For Iron Fist, you get a 15% damage boost, which is pretty good. He already does a lot of damage. But for Luna Snow, she gets a whole new ability. She mixes her ice powers with Iron Fist's chi powers, and she gets a new shockwave in which she can push enemies back, slow them, and heal the allies that are within it when you use it. So it's really good when you have a couple dives on the enemy team constantly harassing you. Use it to get away from them or help your team kill them for you. And it's also really good in a team fight when you need to get quick heals off. You just press it and boom, the whole team is healed. So good ability. I'm going to put it in the back of A tier for now. Okay, up next is Allied Agents, and I think I'm going to put it in the B tier just because you don't really see a lot of people using this team up. So you get it when you combine Hawkeye and Black Widow. As for Hawkeye, he gets a 15% damage boost, which, you know, is pretty good. But when you're Black Widow, you actually get Hawkeye's ultimate. And in case you don't know how that works, when you use it, it'll leave an outline of someone that you shoot behind that you could shoot to do damage to them, even if you're not directly hitting them. The problem is that you're never going to see a Hawkeye or a Black Widow on the same team unless you're really going for this ability. You know, it doesn't make sense to run both of them at the same time. It's a good ability, it's just the two characters don't really mesh well at the same time while playing them. So I think B tier is a good spot. Okay, so our fourth team up is going to be Chilling Charisma, and I'm going to put it in between Atlas Bond and Guardian Revival in the A tier. So to get this team up, you need Luna Snow, and you mix her with either a Jeff or a Namor, or all three at the same time. When you're Luna Snow, you get a 15% heal buff, which, I mean, she already does so much heal, so just throw that on there. When you use Jeff, you can change your primary fire to an ice attack that'll slow enemies that are within it when it hits, so it could be really good in team fights. But I think the real benefactor of this team up is Namor, because Namor starts off with 2 monstro spawns that he could put anywhere, but now he has 3. He gets an ice one that can also do a lot of damage with the other ones. So a good Namor who knows where to put his monstro spawns could be dangerous with an extra one to put wherever he wants. So I think that alone slots it right in the A tier. Up next is Lunar Force, and it's okay. I think I'm going to put it in the B tier. It might move down, but we'll see. You get this by combining Cloak and Dagger and Moon Knight, who are 2 really good characters in their own right. For Cloak and Dagger, you get a 15% heal buff, and for Moon Knight, you can essentially turn the area around you invisible for around 6 seconds. So it's okay. If you're up high, I guess it would be harder to hit the Moon Knight if you can't see him. But if he's on the floor, all you have to do is really just jump into that bubble with him, and you'll be able to find him and kick him out of there. So very situational, I think. Like I said, if you're up high and no one's really paying attention to the bubble, you can do a lot of damage because no one's really looking at you. But if someone sees it and they're just hopping in there with you trying to kick you out, then you're kind of useless with it. So backup B tier is okay for me. Okay, so up next is ESU Alumni, and I think it's better than Lunar Force and Allied Agents. Not better than Atlas Bond. I'm going to stick it in that A tier. So you get this when you combine Spider-Man and Squirrel Girl. For Spider-Man, you get a 10% damage boost, so it's not all that for him. But for Squirrel Girl, you get a web bomb from Spider-Man, and when you hit someone with it, it causes an explosion that can stun enemies around it for 1 whole second. And it may not seem like a lot of time, but it helps your team stay in the fight, and it can animation cancel some ultimates. So if you notice someone's about to use an ultimate and you hit it with them, it could potentially completely cancel it out. So it has a lot of utility, and for that reason I think it belongs in the back of A tier. It could move down to the top of B tier, but I think bottom of A tier is where it belongs for now. Up next is Fastball Special, and it's okay. Let's be honest, it's probably the most fun one to use and the best one to actually land, but in its totality, I think I'm going to just put it in the top of B tier. So you get this when you combine Hulk and Wolverine, and you're basically able to pick Wolverine up and throw him at any target you see. Now, this is a cool ability, don't get me wrong. A lot of people don't know how to aim this thing. They really don't. I've played Wolverine before, and I've said to the Hulk, hey, throw me, and they completely miss. And I know as Wolverine you could fly and kind of aim yourself when you're in the air, but dude, sometimes like they do not know where to throw you. But if you know what you're doing and you're able to hit targets with this thing, it can be really, really good. So I think since not a lot of people know how to aim with Hulk, I think I'm going to just stick it at the top of B tier. Okay, so our 8th team up is going to be Ragnarök Rebirth, and I think this without a doubt is the first S tier so far. So to get this, you need Hela, and you mix her with a Loki or a Thor. When you're Hela, you get a 15% damage boost, pretty standard. But when you're Loki and Thor, you can get revived by Hela if she kills someone with her final hit. So as Hela, if you see your Loki dead and you kill someone, they can get brought back to life. Now the reason why this is S tier is because unlike Guardian Revival, there's no cooldown to this. So if Loki dies and you bring him back and he dies again, you can bring him back again. That's the most insane part to me. And let's say you get a final hit and Loki and Thor are alive, they get a health buff. So they get even stronger if you're killing people. So Hela with this team up is pretty badass. And I think it's reasonable to stick this at the top in S tier. Alright, so up next is Metallic Chaos, and for me it's probably the second best one on the list so far, but it doesn't get in that S tier for me for now. It could go up, we'll see. To get this you need Scarlet Witch and Magneto. Scarlet Witch gets a 10% damage buff, but Magneto gets a whole new ability in which he can take out his great sword and swing it and do massive amounts of damage, and it has a pretty decent amount of range to it, so you can hit enemies from afar with this attack. It lasts for 10 seconds. It only has a 30-second cooldown, so it's pretty good. I just think that some of the ones that we'll get to soon are just better, but this ability makes Magneto one of the best tanks in the game. So I think top of A tier is a really good spot for it. Next up is Voltaic Union, and I'm not gonna lie, this thing is probably the worst ability or team up ability in the game. I don't think anyone's gonna go in the D tier, but this one's pretty bad. So to get this, you need Thor, and you have to mix him with either Storm or Captain America. So for Thor, he gets 100 plus health to his max health, which is pretty good for Thor. But for Storm and Captain America, not so much. For Storm, you get a Chain Lightning attack, which it doesn't even take away a quarter of your health. It doesn't do that much damage. For Captain America, he gets a movement speed boost and gets a damage buff to his shield, so any attack you do, like throwing it or hitting people, you're going to get some lightning damage in there, which can be pretty good, but not even a lot of people use Captain America anyway, so unfortunately this is probably the worst one on the list. Alright, so next up is Planet X Pals, and this is a good team up, but it's not better than Fastball Special in my opinion. So to get this, you have to have Groot, and you got to mix him with either Rocket or Jeff. Now, I actually think Groot benefits the most out of this team up. So he gets 150 health added to his max health, which is a lot. It's pretty big for him. And for Rocket and Jeff, they can hop on Groot's shoulder and get damage reduction. I don't think both can at the same time. I think it has to be one at a time. But the reason why I say Groot benefits the most out of this is because you have the healer on your back. And they're getting damage reduction from your team up. So they don't want you to die. So they're going to keep constantly healing you while you're fighting. So essentially, Groot could be almost indestructible in any team fight, as long as they don't get the healer off your back. So, especially for a tank like Groot who can dictate a game with his spacing, I think this is a really good team up for him, just not as valuable to the Rocket and Jeff as the Groot. So I'm going to stick this in the B tier. Okay, so next up is Gama Charge, and for those who don't know, Gama Charge is the best team up in the game without a doubt. And let me tell you why. So, to get Gama Charge, you need to have a Hulk on your team and either mix him with an Iron Man or a Doctor Strange. For Hulk, he gets 150 health added to his Hulk form and his Monster Hulk form. So that's pretty good for him. But the real benefactors out of this are Doctor Strange and Iron Man. For Doctor Strange, his Maelstrom ability becomes Gamma Maelstrom. And the radius of the explosion is bigger, and the damage that he does is way bigger. You can honestly kill anyone full charge with around like 60% health, and I'm not exaggerating, it's that good. But the real winner out of this team up is Iron Man, without a doubt. So his armor overdrive ability just gets buffed through the roof. He does so much more damage. His Unibeam can melt anyone that he's hitting with it in less than like 5 seconds, even if you're a tank. So this ability turns Iron Man from a pretty good DPS to probably the best in the game if you're using it correctly. You still need to know what you're doing with him, but it is a really good ability. And for those reasons, it's going to go in the top of S tier. Okay, so after Gamma Charge, we have Ammo Overload, and I think we're going to have another S tier ability here. This ability is really, really good. So, you need a Rocket Raccoon, and you have to mix them with either Punisher or Winter Soldier. For Rocket, it's only a 5% heal boost, it's nothing too crazy. But for Punisher and Winter Soldier, this ability goes through the roof. So, if Rocket throws this down and you're standing in the AoE with Punisher and Winter Soldier, you get infinite ammo and a much higher fire rate. Now, I don't have to tell you how OP that is. Just imagine a Punisher on his turret using up all his bullets, and then when he's done, Rocket uses ammo overload, and he can just do it all over again with his gun. Like, it's insane. He wipes. And for Winter Soldier, he's someone who only has 3 bullets in his mag before he has to reload. So now he can just constantly hit headshots with his pistol over and over and over and over and over again. So this ability is pretty cracked, and I think it belongs as the 3rd best ability in the game. Okay, so next up is Symbiote Bond, and I think we're going to have our 3rd straight S tier. This ability is also really, really good. So to get this, you have to have Venom on your team, and you have to mix him with either Spider-Man or Penny Parker. Now for Venom, he gets 150 health added to his max health, so you already know that's pretty good. But for Spider-Man and Penny Parker, they contract the symbiote, and they are able to shoot out spikes that last for about 4 seconds and do about 50 damage per hit that you land. And it also knocks back enemies that you hit with it. So imagine you're Spider-Man, you're diving in with your Venom, and you're doing all your moves, and then you use your symbiote, and you're doing massive amounts of damage as you're constantly attacking them and knocking them back. And then you can just swing away and do it all again when the cooldown resets. And for Penny Parker, she's really good at holding down objectives. So as you have your webs down, people are attacking you, you use the symbiote and just knock them back and make them have to come back to you. So it's a very versatile ability, and I think that's why it belongs in the S tier. Alright guys, so helping me finish my list, we have my puppy Leia here. And to wrap up the list, we have Dimensional Shortcut, which I'm actually going to put in the B tier right here. So this one's actually pretty good. You have to have Magic on your team and mix her with either a Psylocke or a Black Panther. For Magic, you get a 15% damage boost, but for Psylocke and Black Panther, you can actually go back in time 5 seconds prior to where you were standing before you went in for your attack. So for example, if you're Black Panther, you go in to go kill someone, and you use your ability, you'll go back 5 seconds to where you were standing before you went in for that attack. And you'll also get health back based off how much damage you took. And it's the exact same thing with Psylocke. So yeah, at the end of the day, pretty good ability. You do have to really commit to the dive though to get it done. But if that's what you're going for, then it's a pretty good ability. Alright guys, that's going to do it for me. I hope you liked the video. In my opinion, the team-up abilities are one of the coolest concepts that they added into the game, and I'm so glad I was able to rank them here for you guys. If there's any other type of gaming content you want me to do, or any other tier list you want me to do, go ahead and leave it in the comments and I'll get to it as soon as I can. But until then, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.